So the interior to me, again, feels like they're making the best of the situation, right? That center console, in some ways, yeah, with all the piano black and everything, it looks coolish.
Yeah.
But it's still got, the design just feels a little old as well.
So it's not the best in class, but it's the best that they could have done with what they've got.
I don't know why they had to do some of the things, like we even spoke about this for the 400, right? The overly chunky buttons, like they're that big, right? It's like, I don't know why it had to be that big. Easy to use, yeah, but it looks a little strange.
Okay.
And at the same time, if ease of use was the top criteria, why do they still retain those ultra slim
Yeah, I remember this
buttons?
discussion.
Yeah. So those kind of things.
Okay.
In terms of the hardware, the screens look sharp, look good, but the thing that we'll come back to on the electronics front is consistency.
Okay.
So that experience is not on point.
Okay.
Right? So for instance, this gets a 360-degree camera. Awesome, right? Useful, 100%, but as useful as you'd like, as useful as you'd expect for a modern car.
But they haven't meshed the graphics together properly?
It's laggy.
Oh.
So my vehicle has already moved, but it's not been represented on the screen. In that sense, it's not useful to me, right? We're seeing those inconsistencies.
So there's X seconds of lag between you doing something and then the image actually updating
and
to
X
show it.
is an excellent one to use here because it's not consistent.
Oh God.
Right? So the same thing happened even with the screen boot ups. Most of the times they just work fine, all okay. But one time I was like, I started the car, I want to drive, and I'm waiting for the screens to kind of load. I don't know, that happened the one time.
Are they running Windows? No, Windows can be like that sometimes.
So that inconsistency is the thing that takes away from this experience.
Okay.
Right? Because for it to, I think this we've discussed again and again, it's when an experience breaks that you get the letdown.
Yeah, of
and
course.
That's the thing that stays with you, right? So the inconsistency, as we're talking about the cabin, I'll also point out about the air conditioning system.
Okay.
Right? So it's a dual zone air conditioning system, great. But the inconsistency here was strange. Like, I'm not very fond of air conditioning, so typically when I'm in a car, I'll set it 24 and just leave it at that, right? Or kuch nahi. In this, when I set it at 24, sometimes it wouldn't cool, sometimes it would cool. So I thought maybe it's hot, right? So maybe it just needs more juice. So I started using it at 22. And the other day when I was driving, and this was at night, I was going to Andheri, right from office. And at night, at 22, it wasn't cooling the cabin well enough, right?
Oh.
But the next morning, when I was driving back to office, right, same, 22, all the settings same, it was cooling the cabin.
Maybe they've loaded AI into the air conditioning and the AI decides when it should cool and not cool.
Whatever it is, I think air conditioning is not something that should be rocket science. I press a button, it works, and that's it.
And in today's day and age, to mess up air conditioning takes some spectacular amount of work.
So I'll throw that one caveat out now that, okay, these are the pre-production cars, etc., etc.
Fair.
So hopefully this is not an issue in production cars, but this is not something we've experienced in the past either, something like this. So it's strange.
Yeah, it sticks out to me because I can't remember the last time anybody complained about air conditioning outside of my car has a giant sunroof, so I don't get cooling at the back. Outside of that, I've never heard air conditioning show up in this conversation.
We have some cars, like we spoke about the VWs, the Tygoon and the Kushaq and all those, right? Their air conditioning systems are not strong enough to deal with our summers.
Yeah.
They take a long time to cool. But that's consistent. You know that. If you left your car out in the sun on a hot afternoon, when you come in, you will take 20 minutes to cool the cabin down properly. Which is fine. You know that that's a given.
Right.
Here, I don't know what it's doing.
Okay.
And that's the bothersome part, right?
Very strange.
Yeah.
Very strange. I suggest that you guys look at other people reviewing the 3XO and see if this air conditioning thing pops up everywhere else, because if it is inconsistent, it should show up because it's like a sore thumb sticking out.
The only consistency in this is that we drove the turbo petrol, the top spec, the TGDI, and the diesel, and this happened in both. Right?
That's worse.
So whatever it is, it happened in both. It's not a one-off that it happened in this car and that's it. We drove two cars and it happened.
That's okay. I just buy this car only for the winter and I won't use it in the summer. I'll use my other
guarantee
vehicles.
that in the winter you don't need the AC. That way. Okay. Yeah.
Except that in Mumbai you're going to need the AC the whole year. So.
Yeah. And all you'll have to do is move to Delhi then to enjoy it that way.
They haven't renamed Delhi to Delhi yet, no?
Nahi Delhi.
That is a clip from MotorInc. And what that means is if you'd like to see more of these, you can do two things. One is stay on this channel, subscribe and watch more, or you can come to the main MotorInc channel where you'll find a much longer video that discusses this idea in a lot more detail.